Alrighty, so today we are finishing up chapter 9.2, and we are going to be looking at how we name and write formulas for compounds containing polyatomic ions. Remember yesterday we went over a bunch of rules, or not a bunch, but these rules for writing the formula if given the name, and then determining the name if given the formula is just the opposite. For naming binary ionic compounds. So these were the rules that we went over yesterday. Remember, if we're given the name, we write out the ions first, like it did here. We write out the ions, and then we write them in a row, in one line like this, and then we go back and we write in the subscripts. And remember, I told you that these subscripts, we can really just take the charge of the opposite ion and place it as the subscript for the other ion. So, for example, here we have an N3, 3 minus charge. We can put the 3 here by the potassium, and the +1 we would put here by the nitrogen. But remember, we don't write +1, just like we don't write a 1 as a subscript, just like we don't write 1x in math. So this is what we went over yesterday, and you did an assignment on that from yesterday. Remember, we had some specific examples that we went over when we were looking at the metals that form more than one ion, and paying close attention to those, making sure we name them correctly. And that was it. So today we're going to look at the rules for determining the formulas and the names of compounds containing polyatomic ions. So first, we're going to look at the rules for writing the formula if we're given the name, and then we'll look at the rules for writing the name if we're given the formula. And these rules are basically just these rules, but with words instead of symbols and figures. Okay, so for the first rule, we're going to write the symbol or the formula for the cation. So we're going to write the symbol or formula, because it could be, formula for cation. So we're going to look at some examples after I write these rules, just like we did yesterday. Then we're going to write the symbol or the formula for anion. Then we're going... Ira's adding his own rules here, sorry. Third rule is the same. We're going to add subscripts as needed to balance the charges. Add subscripts. And I'm going to write and parentheses here, because as we're going to see, when we're using polyatomic ions, we're going to have parentheses. So let's look at some examples. So let's look at calcium nitrate first. Calcium nitrate. So I'm given the name, and what I'm going to do first is I'm going to write the symbol or the formula for calcium. In this case, it's a symbol. It's Ca. Now let's do it like this. It's Ca, and remember, Ca has a 2+ charge. Then we're going to write the symbol for the anion, which is nitrate. Remember, nitrate is NO3. No, not 2 minus. I think it's just 1 minus. I always get that wrong. 1 minus, just minus like that. That's nitrate. Okay. Oh, let's write this up here, NO3, and we'll do the minus, right? Because we're not going to write the minus down there. Okay. So here we have everything written out, and here we have our keeping track of our charges. So we're going to need 2 of these whole nitrate units in order to balance out that 2+ charge, right? So in order to do that, let's move this over here. Move this right here. In order to write this so that it shows that we have 2 nitrate units, I cannot just write another subscript here, because that looks like 32. I can't write a smaller subscript because that just doesn't make any sense. So what I have to do is I have to put parentheses around this entire unit, around NO3, and then I'm going to add a 2 on the outside of that parenthesis right here, like this. So now what that says is I have 1 calcium and I have 2 nitrate units. And a nitrate unit is this group of atoms together, this polyatomic ion of multiple atoms combined to form this overall ion that has a charge of -1. So I have my parentheses, like I said, why I said parentheses up here, and then I put a 2 on the outside of that as a subscript on the outside. Let's look at another example. Alright, so we have potassium phosphite here. So what we're going to do first is we're going to write our everything out. Alright, so I need to figure out how I can balance these charges. I have potassium with a +1 charge and phosphite with a 3- charge. So obviously I'm going to just need 3 potassiums here. So I would put a 3 there. I don't have to put parentheses around this potassium. Why? Because it's not a polyatomic ion. The parentheses only go around the polyatomic ions. If I put a parentheses here, that would be redundant, right? Like, we understand, we get it. If it's right next to the K, it means we have 3 Ks, just like this O and this 3, right? This 3 next to this oxygen indicates that there are 3 oxygen. It doesn't say that there are 3 potassium, or phosphoruses. That's a really hard, phosphori. I don't know what the plural of phosphorus is. Anyway, it doesn't say we have 3 phosphoruses. We have only 3 oxygens, right? So whatever the subscript is right next to, it's just for that one single element. And in this case, we just have potassium, and we don't need to put parentheses because we don't have an H over here. We're not saying that it's not a unit. It's a single individual ion, so we just put it right directly next to the ion, or the element in this case is potassium. Let's look at another example. All right, here we're going to look at ammonium hydroxide. So we're going to have ammonium, which is NH4, and we're going to have hydroxide, which is OH. And remember, ammonium has a +1 charge and hydroxide has a -1 charge. So actually we don't need to write anything. We don't need any subscripts here because we balance the charge is neutral on the overall compound. Alright, so now that's it for these rules. Now we're going to look at the rules for writing the name if we're given the formula. These rules are very simple and pretty much the same as the rules we just went over. First, we're going to write the cation name. And then we're going to write the anion name. And the third rule here, just the thing to remember, is if the cation is a metallic element that forms more than one common ion, then we need to include the Roman numeral in the name. So remember, or check and make sure the cation doesn't form more than one type of ion, form more than one ion, and meaning if it isn't one of those 8, make sure it's not one of those 8, one of the 8 that forms 2. If it is, don't forget don't forget special naming system, stock or suffix naming. Alrighty. Let's actually just say we're only going to use the stock system. Don't just stock naming, because I'm not going to ask you to do that here. Alright, so let's look at some examples of this. So like I said, this is basically just the same rules. These are the same rules, but it's with words instead of symbols, right? Okay, so some more examples. Let's look at Beryllium. Oh wait, I'm giving you sorry. Beryllium. I'm not supposed to tell you the names. Okay. Well, beryllium. And we'll do... Alright, there we go. So, first what we're going to do is we're going to write the name of the cation, which is beryllium. Already told you that. Beryllium. Then we're going to write the name of the anion, which is hypochlorite. Wow, Ailey's excited. Alright, there we go. Just because there's a 2 here, it doesn't matter. We don't have to specify that there's 2. We don't have to say anything about the 2, the subscripts. So this is it. That's it. That's the name. Because neither of these, this is not one of the special 8. So our third rule doesn't apply. So this is just beryllium hypochlorite. Let's look at another example here. Alright, so we have Li2SO4. So first you need to write the name of your cation, which is the lithium ion. And there's 2 of them, but it doesn't matter. And then this is why it's very important that you have these memorized, these polyatomic ions memorized, because you need to know that this is sulfate. This is lithium sulfate. Alright, that's how you would write the name given this formula. Okay, that is pretty much, that is it. This is pretty simple. This is a short lesson, and we're done with 9.2 now. So that is it. You're going to now work on the assignment that will be due tomorrow before the start of class. It's just a polyatomic naming worksheet. And if you finish that, you can start on the 9.3 reading notes, which will be due on not till next week, but you can start them today. So you don't have to do them as homework next week. So finish your homework that's due tomorrow, and then you may begin on the 9.3 reading notes. Please let me know if you have any questions. Tomorrow you'll be doing a big chapter 9.2 review, the review problems, and then on Monday we'll do a 9.2 review and we'll go over the homework problems, and then we'll move on to 9.3 on Tuesday. So that's what we're doing for the next couple days. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. Have a good day.